Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
How are you, constituent?
This is Sarah. I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I know who's speaking. I'm good, thanks. Hello, Hans.
Hello, Commissioner.
How are you, constituent?
Doing just fine. Registered for my vax to the max, so I can expect that 250K anytime now, right?
Yeah. You just keep wishing.
Yeah, I'm in the same region as Albuquerque, so I'm not going to hold my breath.
Right.
Hi, Sarah. This is Rico Gonzalez. Can you hear me?
No, but we can sure see your forehead.
I can hear you, Mr. Gonzalez. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's more like a six head there, Commissioner. More like a six head.
Yeah, well, mine's growing too. Dang hair. Good afternoon, Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
Afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How you been?
I'm doing good. Is it pretty
Good.
warm in your side of the state?
Yeah, we're 79 right now, and it's kind of humid. But it's been raining, so I'll take the humidity when we have rain.
Yes, yes. I'm just happy about being, during the season for June and July. It's been a long winter.
Yeah. You strike me as the type of person who likes flowers in your yard. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, that's one of my hobbies.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe someday I'll get to see them.
Yeah, yeah. You're more than welcome to come to the Navajo Nation and see a rodeo or, good activities
that'd be
in the
great.
future, but not this
Right.
year, but maybe in the future.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Hello,
That'd be great.
commissioners.
Hey, Steve. Commissioner Fishman. How are you?
Until I call the meeting to order, I'm Steve.
Appreciate
Jeff.
that. Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how I feel, but I know as we get closer to the meeting time, we need to follow protocol.
Yeah. Well, it's 1:00, so I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask Mike to take the roll call. Mike, are you there? Maybe not.
Just his name is.
No, I'm here. Sorry, I couldn't.
Okay. So Mike, go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fishman,
That's me.
Commissioner Maestas,
I'm here.
Commissioner Byrd,
Here.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar,
Here,
Commissioner Hall. Does not appear we have Commissioner Hall. However, we do have a quorum. And we are being recorded.
Yes, we are. Okay, we've got a quorum. Hopefully Commissioner Hall will be here shortly. Sarah, are you on?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Well, I just picked you to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh my goodness. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And
For New Mexico, do you know that?
I don't know that actually.
Okay,
I should from listening.
Joe looks ready to go, so he'll pick that up.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship amongst united cultures.
Very good. Okay, on to consideration and approval of the agenda. Any?
Move to approve as presented.
I
Second.
will second. Jeff got the
I
second.
believe, pardon me, Chairman Fishman, I thought there was one alteration we needed to do.
Okay, go ahead, Hans.
It is case 21-109 can be removed from the agenda because it was addressed yesterday.
This is true.
And that is under Roman numeral 9B8. And that's case 21-00109 UT.
Okay, I'll change that. Move to approve the agenda as amended.
And I will second. And please take the roll, Mike.
Commissioner Hall. Probably shouldn't have started with that. Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
We're on strike.
2 strikes.
Aye.
Oh, here we go. Commissioner Maestas,
Aye.
Commissioner Fishman,
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd,
So tempting to let you strike out 3 times. Aye.
You were gonna kill
the
the meeting,
agenda as
weren't you,
amended is
Commissioner?
approved by a vote of 4-0.
Introduction of special guests.
Mr. Chair, it's my understanding that there are no special guests or public comments today.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sarah. And that gets us very quickly to El Paso Electric's presentation. I saw Mr. Schiestel on board for EPE. So feel free to take it away.
Hello, Rico, are you on?
I believe Rico is gonna lead us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yes, I am on this afternoon. Good evening or good afternoon, Chairman and commission members. I will share my PowerPoint and let's see if that works. Does everyone see that?
Yes, we see it.
Yes.
Okay, great. And I will turn it over to Kelly Tomlin, our CEO at El Paso Electric, and Steve Barachik, our Chief Operating Officer, to walk you all through some of the visions that we have for our region, which are growing and exciting, and some of the preparation that all of our workers have done at El Paso Electric and IBEW 960. So I'll turn it over there and just let me know when to switch it, Kelly and Steve, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Rico. Yeah, it's an exciting time at El Paso Electric. We've welcomed all of our team members back, and you can feel, quote, accept the pun, energy from that. We are going to talk primarily about summer readiness because it's such a critical time for us. As I know you've heard me say many times, we're so excited to be a part of a region that's actually growing. My sister utilities are not facing that same challenge and opportunity, so we're excited about that. But we've reached a level of growth that we did not anticipate for several years from now. So we are in a particular challenge with that. But I also wanted to put that context of meeting our summer needs and how it fits into our entire preparation for the future. Rico, go to the next slide. You good, Rico? So our strategic framework, we call safety in the 5 C's, and we have a lot of projects related to all of those. We're going to focus today on the customer, but I did want to highlight how they all fit together. Certainly, as we've seen yesterday, our systems have to be safe. Cyber attacks are really, in my CEO conversation, such an area of concern across industries, but in particular, the energy industry. Working on continuing to build our very unique culture, a vibrant one. We have been traditionally a little risk adverse, but really working on continuing to build what I think we've been proud of overall, just a culture of caring, commitment, but really focused on building on our innovation and our ability to think outside of the confines, perhaps. And the ones that we'll allude to, I know are near and dear to some of these hearts here, is the message of climate and how we can lead in that space. You'll be hearing from us again, I'm sure, on our IRP. We're excited about, if you haven't already, about what we think is possible in our clean energy goals. And our community, we've recently given out significant funds, and I was happy to be in New Mexico to celebrate that and working with economic development entities to make sure we do what I know everyone cares about, grow our economy. And finally, what we'll focus on today is really building on how we can serve our customers in new and different ways, and seeing how our customers need different solutions and how we can offer a wide array of solutions. The next slide really goes into those. And again, I'm not going to labor it because that's not what this meeting was for. But giving context to our summer readiness, I have listed what we're really focused on this year. We're in the middle of our 5-year strategic plan, but in lieu of that, we did create what we think were our priorities for 2021, little cute thing of 21 for 21. But highlighting a little bit about what we'll talk about today around the customer. Number 5, really looking at summer readiness. And for a system that doubles in load between our low load and our top load, it really does call us to make sure we're being efficient and effective. We certainly don't want to build to that last megawatt, but we want to serve to that last megawatt. So you'll hear us talk about the customer of the future a lot. You know, I've said before, and I try to, it doesn't matter, Rico can go, but I just want to say one more thing about, I've said before, and I try to say it with all due deference, that we do have some catch up. We have some catch up compared to other utilities. Definitely 15 years of a rate freeze doesn't go away overnight. And we have some areas that you saw on the other page that we have to catch up on. One is our grid mod plan. You can see that right under summer readiness. We have just launched our grid mod plan this week. We've just launched some technology around drone usage. We are behind, we have to catch up. Asset management, we are behind, we have to catch up. Customer applications and customer solutions, we are catching up. We have some more to do. So you'll hear us say over and over again that our vision is to be the foundation of economic vibrancy in this region, but we'll have to do that with system and infrastructure that meets that big vision. And I've outlined before I turn over to Steve real quickly what we think the relevant goals are. Certainly meeting what we're going to talk about today, our summer peak, but continuing the partnership with supply and demand to do that. We call that customer of the future. I was talking to a regulator who doesn't love the word conservation, but what we're talking about is all working together. Historically, what a utility has done is just supplied whatever demand showed up, however it showed up, and half-heartedly worked on efficiency and conservation. But really, we do have to work with our customers to make sure they're educated on what that means if we don't shift load off peak. I've recently got the time of use meter to work with my electric vehicle, which I've had for years in other jurisdictions. So we're happy to have the opportunity soon with our AMI to make that more effective, but really focus on how can we create a deeper partnership with our customers to help us fulfill the green energy promise. We talk a lot about renewables, but we all know that the last kilowatt hour that we spend on peak is the less clean and the most expensive. So we want to attack that with all passion. We've talked about electric vehicles and how we believe it can help us do that. We have a big program related to that. We've recently started our EPE, EV Club, of which I'm a proud member. We had an EV event where everyone drove their EVs, and I think I had the least cool car, and there are definitely people in our organizations that have cooler ones. And again, while we want to develop certainly customer partnerships, we want to continue to build strong and deep community partnerships, because what we're up to together is really big and impactful, and we'll need a lot of people to help us do that. So I know that's a mouthful, but I don't want to take up much time. Turn over to Steve so he can talk about the topic of the day. Steve?
Kelly, thank you. And commissioners, I also want to thank you for this opportunity. I think anytime we have a chance to get in front of our customers, our regulators, that is a great opportunity. And so I'm happy to be here today. Before I go into summer readiness, I do want to echo some of the stuff that Kelly talked about. So I'm kind of the historian, because I've been at the company for almost 28 years. And you know, some of the stuff that Kelly hit on, I can tell you that there's more excitement than I've seen probably in 28 years being at the company. Our employees are excited about the future. They're excited about the opportunities. They're excited about the growth in this region. And so our 1,100 plus employees are very happy, one, to be back full-time at work here in the offices, but also to be contributing to the energy grid and really this transformation that's happening. So just wanted to echo Kelly's comments on that. And as I go through this presentation, if there's any questions, please feel free to stop me. And so focusing on summer readiness, on this slide, there's a couple of bullets that I do want to highlight. Now, the reliability, first one, that is from a total system perspective. I don't want to say this is New Mexico, because in New Mexico, you know, we're right in the pack with PNM and SPS. But from a total system perspective, we are number one in reliability. If you're looking at Katy, which, as you all know, is really our restoration, then we are at the top. So if our customers do have an outage, we do get them restored very quickly. And so that's something we're proud of. The other one is our system load growth. If you look at where we were in summer of 17 to summer of 2017 to summer of 2020, we had a 238 megawatt load growth. And as Kelly said, those last megawatts are the most expensive to serve. And so that represents a 12.3% load growth over that period. And so we're working hard to try to find ways to flatten that curve, so to speak, so that we can do a better job of investing capital where it really should be invested. And some of those things are right there at the bottom of the slide is the distribution system, the transmission system, the things that go directly to serve our customers. Our crews have been working very hard over the last 4 to 5 years in investing in our system and making sure that it's able to meet our customers' needs. Rico, next slide, please. So as it pertains to summer readiness, this really is, I think, the slide that kind of sums it up. If we look at our system from what we can actually serve at time of peak, and this assumes the nomenclature is ALIS, which is all lines and equipment in service. So that means everything is running perfectly as it should. If that is happening, we can serve 2,385 megawatts of load. And as you all know, you've been doing this for a long time, that usually doesn't happen. There's usually derates and outages. That's just the nature of the business. So if we look at what our forecasted load is and reserve requirements, we've got about 148 megawatts of room for derates and outages this summer. And so I'll just tell you, it's going to be a very challenging summer for us. It was a challenging summer last year, and everything almost worked perfectly last year. But we had a record load growth, record megawatts on our system that we had never seen before. It was a 9.5% increase from the previous year. And so we have these challenges. We have older generation that we are trying to replace. We understand our customers are depending on the system more. As Kelly talked about, electric vehicles are becoming more and more prevalent. There's more of a dependence. And so we want to make sure we're ready to serve our customers. And then the last one, last year really was an anomaly. Everybody I think is just still trying to figure out what the impact of COVID is. And as far as I can tell, if we look at the load growth we had from 2019 to 2020, probably a third of it was COVID. A third of it is the economy doing really well. And probably a third of it is just the normal load growth that we would expect. And so we do expect, again, a tight year. And Rico, if you can go to the next slide, please. Part of this, or part of what's going to be contributing to this, the question is, what do we expect as far as weather? And so if you look at NOAA, which is probably the best forecasting tool we have as far as looking out into the future of what to expect for weather, it doesn't look good for this region. The map on the right side, it shows that we're expecting higher than average temperatures, and that deeper red is signifying there's about a 60 to 70% chance that we're going to have higher than average temperatures. And so, of course, with those higher than average temperatures, we will have more of a demand on our system. And it's not just for this region, it's for the entire West. And as you all know, we are part of the Western Interconnect. And so we buy power, we import power from Palo Verde and other areas. And so if it's tight throughout the West, it's going to be tight for us to get power as well. Rico, next slide, please. So this is our load and resource document. It's gives a high level view of what we expect as far as generation resources, what our load is, and what our reserve requirements are. And this one is a little bit simplified, but if the first column shows what we expect from a total generation resource perspective, again, everything is working perfect. So we have all of our generation at 100%. It's 100% available. And then, again, I've been here for 28 years, and that's just not the case. You're always going to have some amount that's forced out. So best case is, we have about 2,200 megawatts of generation resources. When we look at what our customers, what our native system demand is, we have some ranges in there. The expected range or expected amount is 2,137 megawatts, but there's an upper bound and a lower bound. And again, there's this big question mark as to how much COVID had on our load last year. So we have a pretty good bandwidth there from, on the high case, 2,259 megawatts, on the low case, 2,016 megawatts. Our load forecasting group has historically done a pretty good job. So, we're planning toward this 2,137 megawatts, which, if you look at the numbers at the very bottom, it shows how thin it is. We've got a margin over total demand of 88 megawatts. And so this does not include any reserves. Once we look at the planning reserves, And right now we're using a 15% planning reserve target that if we look at 15% of our firm energy requirements, we have a deficit of over 200 megawatts in the expected case. And so what we did last year and what we were planning on doing this year is looking at purchases from the market. At this point, that is really our option. We do have the interconnect with the SPP. We also have some transmission availability, but it kind of goes back to that, what that load serving capability is that I was mentioned before of 2,385 megawatts. And so to the extent that we have generation outages or that we have higher than expected demand, we will have to be purchasing from the market to meet our customers' needs. Rico, last slide, please. And so because of this, we are working internally on messaging. And this is something I'll just be honest with you, I don't know that we've done very well in the past. And so we want to be transparent with our customers. And so we're working on messages to communicate when we're in periods of high temperatures, one, to help them conserve when there's high temperatures, but also if we get into a situation where it is looking at voluntary interruptions or involuntary, we obviously would prefer that our customers conserve and turn up the thermostats, turn off lights, pool pumps, things like that, so that we can continue to serve all of our customers and not have to go through any sort of rolling blackouts. Now, these messages are very important, but again, they'd be used in emergency situations only. But some of the programs that we do have, we had a pilot program a few years ago on customers on smart thermostats. And so that one is available to customers. And so, those are things that can certainly help because they can shave the peak, so to speak, that if customers have smart thermostats, we can essentially pay them $25 a thermostat. And that gives us the opportunity to raise their thermostat when we're peaking. And as Kelly said, it reduces that last megawatt or the last kilowatt. And so it's a much more efficient use of our system. And so those are some of the programs we have. And obviously, as we move forward and look at AMI, AMS, and really going into grid mod, there's going to be a lot other options for us. But given where we're at today, these are probably the best options we have.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Just to wrap up, I want to, again, as Steve did, thank the commissioners. Definitely, we at AP feel the challenge right now. And I know we don't always agree on everything. Obviously, I want to replace a power plant that I think needs to replace that the commission feels differently about. We have a carbon-free resource that is 100% reliable that the commission feels differently about. And we recognize and honor that. So we're going to continue to work to fulfill your goals as we continue to fulfill our obligation of reliable energy. But what we promise throughout this process is to be transparent, speak the truth, and continue to work really, really hard to be a full partner with our community, our customers, and with this commission. So I hope you feel that, the family, the 1,100 families and 200 plus that live in New Mexico are so committed to serving. And definitely we have a good challenge to face that our region is growing and we want to be a full partner in that. So hopefully throughout the summer, we'll be able to do just that. And we'll have an opportunity to come back to talk to the commission as we deal with these issues, continuing issues together. But as we really start to refine and define a pretty exciting energy future around electrification, around shared resources, and around really bringing a cleaner environment to our customers. I think, Rico, is that all we had? Is there anything we missed?
I think that's it from our end, Chairman and Commissioners. I don't know if there's any questions, but if there are.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hall, you are here. Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize for being late. I had to run my husband down to get a procedure, and I forgot it was at 1. I thought it was at 1:30. So, but in any case, I did catch part of this, and I do have a question. I caught the part where I caught that slide that shows that reserves are in the negative, really, for this summer. I believe I caught the gist there. And I understand the speaker was saying that their plan is what they did last year, which is to purchase from the market. I'm guessing that's the Western Energy Imbalance Market. I wanted to from that. And is that the market that the speaker's referring to? Can you confirm that for me, please, sir?
Commissioner Hall, so yeah, this is Steve Barachik. We are not members yet of the energy imbalance market. We will be in the EIM in April of 23. And so where we, and the I probably need to clarify that as well, as the energy imbalance market is really to allow you to balance your renewable resources better. It's not a market to depend on for resources to serve your load. And so the markets we would be going to are really the bilateral markets, buying power from other entities at Palo Verde or Four Corners, which are some of the major trading hubs that we have transmission access to. Also maybe, as I did mention, over the DC tie as well to buy power from the SPP if that's available. And so those would be the main options we would be looking at.
I'm sorry, could you repeat those two options? I ran into a dead space with my phone. You'll have to.
Yeah, so in the Western market, the major trading hubs that we have access to via our transmission system and transmission rights are at the Palo Verde Trading Hub.
Yeah.
At Four Corners, the hub itself, not the power plant. There's a lot of power that's usually available there. And so we would buy from there, but also we have a DC tie that interconnects us to the SPP. And so there is some transmission that's available. And so if we can find power from the SPP, we would look at purchasing that as well.
But just to be okay, I just want to clarify, Steve, the reserve situation. So right now, do we serve New Mexico with PV3, and after June, if the recommended decision goes through, we won't be serving them with PV3? Does that make our reserve margin less, or is that not? Am I getting it wrong?
It will make it less, Kelly, because yes, there'll be approximately 40 megawatts. So if you look at this LNR, and again, everything I've presented here has been from a total system perspective. And so if you look at the line that shows Palo Verde, that 622 megawatts, that's from units 1, 2, and 3. And so to the extent that PV3 is not used in New Mexico, which I guess once the final order is issued, if stays as is, there would be approximately 40 megawatts that in addition to that we'd have to find a replacement for PV3. And so this 622 would go down to 582 megawatts essentially.
So my follow-up question there is, as you know.
Well, it seems we've lost Cynthia temporarily. Other commissioners, feel free to ask questions until she comes back. Okay, I've got a question or two in the meantime. In terms of a little bit longer term, it seems like this has caught you by surprise a little bit, how fast the demand has grown. In terms of what we've looked at in the past, in terms of your capacity needs, is this going to change your plans as far as when certain facilities close down, or in terms of adding new resources?
Well, let me jump in there before Steve answers from a technical standpoint.
Okay.
And then certainly, Jim, you can answer. As I think you know, we will be bringing on 270 megawatts of solar, and we will be bringing on for Texas the other 230 some megawatts of gas-fired generation by 2023. The solar will be on before that. So I think two things. It really depends on whether or not, I think you knew that for those units, which wouldn't be applicable in New Mexico anyway, we would be keeping them, I mean, the new unit wouldn't be. We'd be keeping those units on what we call restricted reserve. However, we will have to look at how the regulatory scenario plays out now with TCEQ to see whether or not that would be possible. So we are in the process, and then I'll let Jim and Steve answer, of really starting our next procurement piece, but that, as you know, that's long-term. So I do think that it will depend on two things: how the load shakes out. We don't know whether last year is indicative or an anomaly due to COVID. And the second piece is what happens, at least in this region, with any restrictions related to any air quality issues. Steve and Jim, please opine.
Yeah, so Chairman Fishman, I'll just tell you that, you know, the load that we saw last year was not load that we had forecast until 2025 or 2026. So again, is it an anomaly or is it just more electrification and growth in the region that's driving this? I guess we'll find out this summer. It certainly is a lot of growth, but we got to figure out how much the COVID impact had on the demand last year. But as Kelly mentioned, we will be adding the 270 megawatts of solar, and there is a 50 megawatts of battery storage. And I want to be very careful though, as we talk about nameplate, that it's not 270 megawatts of capacity. I think the 270 megawatts of capacity of solar nameplate capacity, because it has 50 megawatts of battery storage, is going to turn into about another 105 megawatts of capacity that we can actually put on the LNR. And I'll just give you the perfect example. Yesterday and the day before, we're having cloud cover here in El Paso and in Las Cruces, and the current 110 megawatts that we have contracted for now. And if you look at this LNR, it shows it's about 79 megawatts. That 110 megawatts yesterday was putting out at time of peak about 10 to 15 megawatts. And so as we move forward, you know, what the capacity contribution from solar is actually going to be is something that we're going to have to continue to look at. And I know people are going to challenge it because they want us to move to as much renewable as possible, and we do as well. But we have this obligation that it's incumbent upon us to make sure we can continue to serve our customers in a reliable fashion.
And Commissioner, let me just, you know, with respect to you know, our plans and our schedule for, you know, older units being moved out as new generation comes in, and that really is a long-term process. And you know, we do have a case at the commission now on abandonment of a unit, which I don't think we want to get into since it's before you in a case. But I'll answer your question more generally. I don't think it changes I think the current situation doesn't change our long-term view of that, because that is a long-term view. We've had the practice in the past to do exactly what Kelly talked about, and that is to maintain the retiring units in inactive reserve, to keep them in functional and operating condition, so that if we need them, we can operate them. Even in normal circumstances, when you're bringing in new generation and new generating units, until you know you can rely on that new power plant, it's nice to have those others in reserve. And as we transition through, you know, the early period for a generation plant like the Montana Power Station, we become more comfortable with abandoning the older units that it is replacing. So it's a long-term process. And so for us, even this situation doesn't really change that, because, you know, we don't do things from one year to the next. We look at this as long-term, especially with respect to retirements.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you.
I do think what this, and I know Steve alluded to, but I want to underscore it, the impact of electrification. We're seeing so many manufacturers come here wanting to build charging stations. We're seeing so much interest by local retail dealers. We have people coming to us wanting to transition their fleet from non-electric to electric. So we haven't had to build that into our scenario planning. So that's a real big unknown that we're happy about, because if done right, if they charge at the right time, they become a storage facility for us. And we need to give them a price signal to do that. So we're real excited about that, because it would use our grid more effectively. It would be cleaner, blah, blah, blah. So that's something we've never had to factor into our analysis before. So that's going to be somewhat of a wild card. So we'll see how that plays out.
Okay. And there was one other thing I wanted to check into today, and that it really isn't part of your summer. Well, actually, let me ask one more question on summer demand. What kind of communication program do you have with customers? Is there sort of a short-term emergency communication that happens? Are you doing some longer-term communications to get people ready for this idea that they might be asked to conserve sometime during the summer? How's that playing out?
Well, that bothers me. You didn't see our press release, obviously, because we started and I did say the team, I think we have to make it more interesting, because we issue a lot of press releases that obviously people don't don't read. So Rico, Jim, please elaborate. I know that we do send out emergency calls, but just the fact that we sent out a press release and you haven't seen it means that it's not being very effective. So we have to think about that, Jim.
Well, yeah, and Commissioner, Commissioner Fishman, let me go back a little bit and give some context. A lot of the thinking around this and around summer really came out of the freeze and the February conditions in Texas, where there were a lot of issues with were the conditions properly communicated to customers, to where maybe, it's probably the case that in the worst of it in Texas, there's nothing anybody could have done. The fact is, your customers couldn't turn off their power because the alternative was freezing to death. So, but there were some highlights there in Texas around, did companies have plans and advanced plans for how they were going to communicate in these circumstances? And that's really what this is about. This is about being prepared for, I won't say the worst case scenario, but in the instances where you do want to go to your customers, as Steve said, and say, it's been 110 degrees now for 8 days. We're really straining the system. We need everybody working with us to conserve. So it's, we do have, to your question and Kelly's response, we do have regular communications in advance of summer just to remind people about things and sort of get people thinking about the circumstances. But this summer preparedness is really about being better prepared for if the time comes when we really need to go to customers and say, this is an unusual situation. You need to respond accordingly.
But Commissioner, I think we haven't done a good job connecting the dots for people, because what we haven't done is said, listen, if we don't learn how to work together, we're going to build to this peak that's ineffective, inefficient. It dries your bills up. So I don't think we've had a lot of conversation, except when there's an emergency and you don't have time. So it really is a partnership, this customer of the future supply demand partnership I think we want to make. And that requires a new kind of communication about the system, operations, and how we all play a part together in clean and effective and efficient energy. So we're trying to think, how do we position that doesn't sound negative, that it doesn't sound like we're trying to downgrade our economy. So we're working on that, because we recognize when the time comes for the emergency, it's a little bit too late and it's hard to have the full conversation.
Yeah, there you've captured what I think I'm driving at, which is just a longer term communications program to make people more open to the messages when there is the emergency, that they're hearing them and that they're responding to them. And it takes work to kind of lay that groundwork. And so I'm glad you're thinking about that, Kelly. Thank you.
And think about this, Commissioner. When I was living in the Chicago area, I had an app that showed me, and I got messages, you're using more than your neighbor. You have an opportunity to fix your bedroom. I mean, this idea, people get competitive, but I had an electric vehicle, but I also had an electric vehicle that I could charge for about a penny after midnight. So I think we need a more full conversation about how we together, the utility and our customers, drive costs in so many ways, and that we have no interest. I have no interest in getting to running that last kilowatt hour. It's expensive, it's not clean, and I don't want to run it. Yeah. So I need you to help me. So together, we're in this together. And I think we haven't made that exciting and fun. We've made it sound burdensome. And I think when I got I just got my time of use meter, and everybody's like, why do you want to do that? I said, because it saves climate and the money. So I do think there's a real opportunity for us to tell a more exciting story about it.
Okay, well, just one more comment on that is that if I ever get power shamed by El Paso Electric, I'm going off the grid.
No, it's giving you options, giving you information to make choices.
Then I had one final question, which was basically just checking in and seeing how it's going in terms of, we haven't got a lot of customers behind because of COVID. And, we've been working together trying to figure out how to ease the burden, yet at the same time, get the bills collected and, keep you guys having some money to give us some power. How's that going? Is there anything we need to know about how that's going, and that perhaps we can help with the revisit.
Yes.
Kelly?
Let me jump in before Rico does, because I want to give the numbers. About a third of our customers are behind, and we have money. We can't get the money to the customers. This week, within our organization, our executive team said to our guys, guys, give to Project Care, which means money that our customer service reps can give out without going through a fund. I mean, it was a little bit amount, but it turned into about $25,000 because the employees gave, and then the ELT matched, and then the company matched that. And it turns out to be about $25,000. But my point is that no matter how much money we have, we had another group that wants to give $300,000. We, for whatever reason, and Rico can talk about this, we can't seem to get the customer connected with the money. Rico, you have some specifics for us?
Yeah, Chairman and Commission, thanks for the question. Looking at the ERAP funds in Doña Ana County, which is our primary county. Of course, we've got some customers in Otero, we've got some in Sierra and some in Luna. But primarily in Doña Ana County, we have been taking a very proactive approach of working with our partners at the county to try to bring in customers to the county to take on those ERAP, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program funds. Right now, the County of Doña Ana has received a little over $16 million for those rental assistance funds. Inside of the city of Las Cruces, about 300 customers have taken, a little less than 300, about 268 customers have taken advantage of that program. And in the rest of the county, it is almost less than 100. And so getting
That's out of 90,000 approximate customers, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah, and
so it's very, very underutilized then, is what you're telling us?
It's been very underutilized. Some anecdotal pieces for you all. Nothing scientific here, but in our Texas territory, for instance, where we have been allowed to send disconnect notifications, we have seen a much larger tick up of customers taking advantage of those programs that the federal government has set up. And I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I do believe that the New Mexico arrears numbers were at least equal to those in Texas. And when you look at our service territory, 80% of our customers are in Texas. That gives you some sort of indication of where we are on that end. A second piece of again anecdotal discussion is that some of the gas companies in our county have been allowed, because of their size as a company, to send out disconnection notices, and we have received inside of our offices in Las Cruces customers who have said, hey, we've received these notices from X company. We're in here to work with you guys as well. So I just, I say that very sensitively and empathetically and cognizant of the pandemic that we are sitting in. But to that end, one of the things that El Paso Electric has done has partnered up with NMSU and the Doña Ana Community College, Health and Human Services colleges in both institutions. And we have brought on temporary employees who, in fact, had their first training today on being navigators for the county for customers. And our customer care representatives, once these folks are fully trained, which they will be tomorrow, and tomorrow fully online, we'll be calling those customers who are in arrears and and trying to set up appointment times for them to come in and see us. Because of course, if you're not paying your bill, you're not going to come in through the threshold at our offices. And looking at the numbers, obviously there is something to do, out in our more rural areas. Those numbers are just devastating to me, how few people are taking advantage of those funds. Another partner that we've identified and is fully cooperating with us is Casa de Peregrinos, which is our food bank in Las Cruces. We will be going out with these navigators to the places where our customers are at receiving food to try to entice them to work with us. But I will say this, we will not get out a disconnect notice, if I'm remembering my dates right, till around August 12th in El Paso Electric territory. The funding and I know and I, Mr. Chairman, I'm remiss that I haven't recognized Commissioner Maestas and the work that he's done around this issue. So thank you very much, Commissioner. But those funds for the ERAP, as they're called, will revert back to the federal government at September 30th, as far as I understand. And then those funds will be redistributed to areas that are showing need. And so my true concern for my fellow New Mexicans is that the amount of time that they have to react, when it becomes the rubber to the road in terms of paying the bill.
Well,
but
yeah, Rico, the unfortunate part is, Chairman and Commissioners, that we're an industry that I have loved and been proud to work in for 30 years, but we have trained their customers not to pay until they get disconnected. That's just a fact. You have money. We know people have gotten money. They pay every bill and they don't pay ours because we have no recourse. And that sounds kind of hard, but the fact of it is we have money, there is money, but and we know people are getting money, but we can't connect people because we have trained them over time. And then what happens, they get a moratorium where now their bills are going to go through the roof in the summer. And so it's just, the problem just going to get bigger, but it's an industry that's trained people that, hey, it's not really serious till you get a disconnect notice. And then sometimes people will pay, but we have noticed that we have to actually drive by like we're going to disconnect, even though there are funding. So it is a psychological mystery to me, but I have come to believe that it's just because how we've trained people who are struggling. That's number one. Number two, I think people just don't like to talk to us. We look complicated and big. It's like going to your doctor. I'd rather die as call up and make a doctor's appointment. I was on this medical thing all week this week, and I would just rather, unless I'm dying, I'm not going through that admin problem. And I'm sure people think that about us. So we're trying to figure out how we become more accessible. That's the reason we like the funds that we have, because our CSRs on the spot have the ability to give them money. And that's the reason we're really pushing Project Care, because it takes away that middleman. But we are having people blanket areas that we think people in need will be. But we do have to recognize psychologically for 30 years, that's how we've taught our customers. It's not serious till you get disconnect notice.
Thank you for that update. Commissioner Maestas, did you have any questions based on what you've heard?
No, I just want to, thank the El Paso Electric for really being proactive in getting their customers, particularly the ones that are in arrears, focused on this aid, working with them, because I understand there's some frustration because the moratorium on disconnection still is in place for investor-owned utilities, but August, I think it's August 15th. That's gonna be here very shortly, and I think that this intervening time is a perfect opportunity to do what El Paso Electric's doing, and that mobilizing additional forces through staff augmentation, using students as a form of sustained targeted outreach to their customers that are in arrears, I think is a great strategy. And I hope to hear maybe in a couple of weeks if you can let us know how that's coming along, if there are additional applications I don't know if EPE is aware of it. We sent a letter to the Biden administration and the Secretary of Treasury asking them to cut the red tape and allow us to draw on those funds quicker, since there's additional utility assistance funding for homeowners as well, which relieves EPE and other IOUs from differentiating renters from homeowners. And so I think that's a positive development in the commingling of that federal funding for utility assistance. And so hopefully we won't be losing out on any monies that was allocated to New Mexico at the end of September. I think they've communicated informally to New Mexico that if New Mexico can obligate a majority of their funds by the end of the federal fiscal year, which is September 30th, that they would grant them an extension to the end of the calendar year. So we just need to show progress. We need to show progress to the feds and to get that additional time extension at least through the end of the calendar year. So thank you for all your efforts.
Other commissioner comments?
Commissioner Fishman or Mr. Chair, I'm sorry I lost signal right when I was in the middle of asking. I guess it must have been Mr. Birachik, is that right? A question.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened afterwards. I don't know whether he answered it for you guys but I'd just like to get a summation of his answer if he gave one, because
I can't even recall what the question was.
Oh, and maybe I hadn't completed it. My question was, since there in the past 2 summers, there have been a lot of fires in California, and California was generally viewed as leaning on its neighbors. I wondered what sort of impact that may have on your company being able to procure enough resources in the market if something like that happens again. And I'm asking that question informed by the crisis from the cold weather event we just had. We could have a fire event that has that much impact. And I just wondered if you think you would be able to get enough resources from the Palo Verde hub and the Four Corners hub, or what would be your plan if something got out of control like that?
So Commissioner, you're absolutely right. There is, if you look at the West, there is a concern about resource adequacy and capacity availability, and that's reflected in the forward price curves. We've seen the summer pricing typically in the last, 10, 15 years has probably been maybe $40 to $50 a megawatt hour on average. And now we've seen doubling in that pricing to somewhere to 80 to 90, if you're looking on peak, over $100 a megawatt hour. So the forward prices are absolutely reflecting a anticipated capacity scarcity this summer. So as far as what our plan is and what our plan would be is, as we start approaching high temperatures, or if we have contingencies on our system, is to try to lock up those resources ahead of time. We have real-time marketers that they're there 24 hours a day looking to purchase resources as needed, either to supplement our system or to reduce fuel costs. But we also have a day-ahead team that is planning for the next day or next 2 days, and we also have a forward marketer that is looking out for maybe for a month to 2 months, up to 3 months, to secure resource again as needed. And so the plan would be, as we head into triple digits, and as Jim talked about, it's really maybe not when we hit 100 degrees or 105, it's when we're sustained, that when the heat starts to build, that we really see our load grow. And so if based on the weather forecast, we see high temperatures, we will be proactive and go out and try to secure power ahead of time so that it is there when the triple digits do happen.
I think it bears mentioning, Steve, that we're hopeful that the commission will let us use PV3 to serve them, those 40 megawatts, because if they don't—
Sorry, what'd you say, Kelly? Did you say that you're hopeful the commission would do what?
Allow us to use PV3 to serve the state of New Mexico, because if we don't, we'll sell that into the market and then go back and try to procure. So we're hopeful that the commission during the summer will allow us to use PV3. And Steve, correct me if I'm saying that wrong, but the way it is today, that's not the way it's leaning. So that will make our challenge a little bit more significant.
And Kelly, maybe I should just clarify that.
We should probably back off that a little bit, because we're talking about an open docket there. So just
Okay, but I guess I'm hearing you say that you're going to wait till triple digits before you go out to shop for maybe what you might perceive as extra resources. And I'm wondering if that's a little too late.
Well, we'll look at the weather forecast. And so if we see, like today, for instance, we're already looking at weather and we're seeing that yesterday was forecast to be 102 Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week. And so our teams will start anticipating. The concern is, I'll just quite 100% transparent with you. The concern is if we go out and buy 100 megawatts right now and lock that in, I'll just tell you, there's going to be 95% of the time, we're not going to use that power. We're going to turn around and sell it.
Yep.
And that's going to increase our customers' cost. And then again, being 100% transparent, does that create some sort of disallowance for El Paso Electric to try to protect against that 5% of the hours? And so it is a balancing system that we're trying to weigh everything and do, again, what does the prudent utility manager do faced with a similar set of circumstances? And for us, it's really trying to get ahead of it ahead of time and try to buy for those 5% or 10% of the hours when we know the system is going to be struggling. And yes, we will pay more, but we think that's probably overall it's going to be better for our customers to pay more. Maybe we're paying $100, $200 a megawatt hour for those 5% of the hours, but that's probably better than buying $60 or $70 power for 100% of the hours when we know we're not going to use it 90 or need it 95% of the time. Mm-hmm. And so that's the analysis that we try to go through and figure out what is the best option for us to pursue, weighing the risk that we know we have with serving our customers, but also weighing the economics and the impact it would have on our customers' bills. And so trying to balance that's the difficult part.
Right.
And not owning the resources, I'll just tell you that is, that just compounds the problem.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I think any other commissioner questions, comments? I just wanted to make one final comment. I'm certainly open. I'm concerned when we say that 30% of the customers are in arrears of some sort, and we're saying that 1/3% of the customers have taken advantage of ERAP and other funds. And Kelly, I think you kind of outlined the conundrum there on how to convince customers. So thank you for doing that. I just want to say that I'm open. If you guys have suggestions about how you want to proceed that you think will result in customers taking advantage of these funds, being aware that they're there, I hope the commission is open to any suggestions you might make. You have my personal invitation to throw out ideas and see if we can get something going there that when we push the consumer along, that also obviously it helps you and it helps everybody. But of course, we want to do it fairly and not create burdens. But thank you for the update on that. And I was relieved to hear from Commissioner Maestas that there's a probable extension at play here, which certainly would be useful. So, and one final comment, Kelly. I'm not used to the head honcho being in these kinds of
Really?
presentations. I guess my thought to you is keep doing it. Thank you. It is really appreciated.
Oh, my honor. I'm all in. I said I'm so impressed with the commitment around this region. Even when we disagree on the path, we agree on the vision. So I'm really all in. So I'm excited to be here and honored to be here. So thank you for letting me join.
Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Sarah?
I'm here, Mr. Chair.
Okay, there we are. We're back to the agenda.
Yeah.
So now we're on to consent action items. Oh, excuse me, prior meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and
Second, I'll second it.
Second.
okay, we're covered by Commissioner Maestas on the second. Mike, would you take the roll?
This is a vote to approve the prior meeting minutes for the May 12th, 2021 open meeting. Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar,
Aye.
Commissioner Maestas,
Aye.
Commissioner Fishman,
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd.
Aye.
The May 12th, 2021 open meeting minutes are approved by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, and now we're on to approval of the consent action items. And commissioners?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Got a second from Commissioner Maestas. And please take the roll. And I guess you got a long one to read again here, Mike.
Not as bad as last time.
Well, do we need a voice coach
No.
for you now so you don't get too hoarse?
No, I'm good here.
Okay.
So, Commissioners, this is the consent action items consist of case 21-00106 UT in the matter of the application of the City of Santa Fe Fire Department for reissuance of certificate number 18314 to provide ambulance service. This is a potential order regarding application for reissuance of certificate. Next case is 21-00107 UT in the matter of the application of the City of Moriarty Fire Department for reissuance of certificate number 3960 to provide ambulance service. This is a potential order regarding application for reissuance of certificate. Case 21-00108 UT in the matter of the application of Albuquerque or ABQ rather Limo Bus LLC for a certificate to provide limousine service. This is a potential order regarding application for certificate. Utility matters are case 21-03 UT in the matter of the application of, Resound Networks LLC for designation as an eligible telecommunications carrier for purpose of receiving federal universal service support from the FCC Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. This is a potential order regarding certification of stipulation. And case 21-00011 UT in the matter of the petition of PVT Networks, Inc. for designation as an eligible telecommunications carrier for Rural Digital Opportunity Fund support and request for expedited consideration. Also a potential order regarding a stipulation. There is case 21-00060 UT in the matter of the application of Plateau Telecommunications Incorporated for designation as an eligible telecommunications carrier for Rural Digital Opportunity Fund support. Also a potential order regarding certification of stipulation. And finally, case 21-00016 UT in the matter of ETC designations for Federal Rural Digital Opportunity Fund grantees. And this is a potential order closing docket. I will take the roll. Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
Aye.
Commissioner Hall.
Aye.
Commissioner Fishman.
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd.
Aye.
Commissioner Maestas.
Aye.
Commissioners, these consent action items are approved by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, we're on to item 9, docket 19-106, applications for 2020 program support from the SRUSF. And Russell, please take this one.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so this is on the regular agenda because this is a request that is a matter of first impression for the broadband program. We've never had a request before for redesign of projects after awards were made. Windstream has requested that it be allowed to redesign 3 projects that were approved in this docket. This is the 2019 docket, when the 2019 application cycle. The projects are the Hobbs project, I believe it's pronounced HAL, JAL project, and the Eunice project. I gave you in the memo the reasons, technological reasons why they wanted to redesign the project, and also the reason why they sort of discovered after the fact that they wanted to redesign the projects. As I described, they had a contractor that they used to design these projects, these fixed wireless projects, because they didn't have the in-house capacity. Then they were awarded funds for these projects, and afterward, Windstream did establish their own in-house fixed wireless design team, and they reviewed those designs that the contractor had made, and they decided they wanted to do them a different way. And if you have any questions about the technological aspects, about the reasons for their wanting to design those projects from an engineering point of view, Eugene is available to answer those kinds of questions. But the legal issue that comes up is whether or not the commission wants to allow redesigns at all. I've prepared a proposed order that has language for the 2 different alternatives. Obviously, one option is to deny the request entirely because you could simply say, as I put in the proposed order, there's no provision within our broadband program rule to allow for redesign. And it could be in certain situations that it would be considered unfair by other applicants because the applications are essentially in any one year. They're very detailed. They describe the project in great detail and the estimated costs and exactly how they'll be done. And the applications are in competition with each other in any given year if there are more applications or applications for more funding than there is funding available. Now, in this particular year, 2019, that was the year that the commission only received about $4.8 million worth of applications. So in that year, all applications were granted. But the commission could consider saying there will be no redesigns after the fact. We'll never allow them. The other option, of course, is to grant the request. As described in the request itself and as in my memo, the 2 of the redesigns, the ones for the Hobbs and the Hall projects, would result in cost savings and a decreased burden on the fund, on the State Rural Universal Service Fund, totaling $100,429. So that would free up that money for other uses, which would essentially mean that there'd be a larger deposit in the banks, in the bank accounts of the fund, so that probably what would happen is that it could result in a slight decrease in the need for and the size of the per connection charge used to fund the fund in future years. So there's a decreased burden on the fund there. And as I said, 2 of the projects result in decreased costs. The other project, the Eunice project, they want to do a similar redesign for that. Windstream does, but that would actually result in slightly increased costs, almost $8,000. However, as I described in my memo, I was wrong about Windstream wanting to include that as part of the net effect of the award. On the awards, Windstream was never trying to recover, increase the amount of award for that project anyway. So it's just the 2 projects with the decrease that would result in a $100,429 total decrease on the burden on the fund. So obviously that's a big reason why the commission might want to say, okay, we'll allow redesigns here because it decreases the burden on the fund. So with that, I will take any questions.
Commissioner questions or motion?
Chair.
Commissioner Berg.
This is Jeff. Thank you. So just for the record, Russell, it is JAL.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'll remember that.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's a J. It is a J sound. So my question is does this redesign improve the quality or service, either in just in quality or in numbers for the customers?
They've given us some numbers that it will cover more households. The total number of households,
Right.
especially with the Hobbs project, will go up. They've described that the original design used unlicensed spectrum. Now, that didn't mean it was a legal spectrum. If you have any questions about that, Eugene might be able to answer that. But the new design will use licensed spectrum and 4G LTE technology. So I believe that will increase the quality as well. But I'd have to refer that question to Eugene. Eugene, are you available?
I am here. Chairman Fishman, Commissioner Byrd, if I may, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As Russell has indicated, yes. To answer your question directly there, Commissioner Byrd, yes. Is due to the fact that they are redesigning the spectrum, I guess you can call it, because they were utilizing the unlicensed, which basically can be a all-for-one kind of a spectrum where you have no limitation when it comes down to bleed overs or noise or in that nature. And whereas they are now going to implement a licensed spectrum, which actually is the liability and the security issues of that, and just the quality in essence, because it's quieter and you can get further in distance. So it is an improvement, which improves the ability of reaching out to more customers in that aspect. So to answer that question, yes.
All right, thank you. And Russell did an adequate job of explaining all that in his memo, and I just wanted to get it out for everybody that's listening. My opinion on this is that anytime a system can be found to be made better before construction begins, especially when there's a cost savings. But even in the case with JOW, where it's going to cost $8,000 more, the net benefit is still more funds available in the service fund. So I actually would be open to not only approving the cost savings for the Hobbs and Lovington projects, but also add that 8,000 in there and approve that project change as well, simply because they're going to serve more customers with better service. So that's my take, commissioners.
Commissioner Byrd, just to clarify, it's actually the Eunice project that would result in $8,000 of increased costs. And just to clarify what the actual position of the company is, which obviously wasn't 100% clear to me last week, but now is, they want an approval for all three of the projects to do the redesigns. But with regard to the Eunice project, they are not asking for an increase in the award on that project. Even though the total would end up still netting out to a decrease overall, they're not asking for that. They're going to eat the costs, the $8,000 extra. So I think what they're asking for, if we grant the request, it will get exactly what you're looking for, which is that all three will be redesigned, and that there will be this over $100,000 in benefit to the fund by recognizing the decrease in awards for the two projects that result in decreased costs. But that extra $8,000 in Eunice, they will simply absorb those costs themselves at Windstream.
Other commissioners, or Commissioner Byrd, are you finished?
Yeah, it didn't change my which project it was. Doesn't change my position that we still approve, even the extra.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
thank you. Commissioner Hall.
I don't see why we would not approve this, especially if the company is eating $8,000. I don't see it as a fairness issue at all. It's an improvement in the system and with benefits to the public. And we need to be able to preserve our right to decide cases on a case-by-case basis as circumstances arise. And I think it's the right thing to do, and it benefits our fund. So I don't see meaningful downsides at all, and I see very positive outcomes in this case. So I think we should approve it.
Other commissioners? Jeff?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Maestas.
Yeah, look, I understand the fear of precedence, in this, but to me, it's a welcome precedence in that I think any project that's ever been conceived and planned changes between the planning stage and the construction stage. And if those changes result in an improvement in the project and a reduction in price, which I believe these changes entail, I think it's a good thing. Now, I'm not sure, what the incidence of requests to redesign are after initial award, but I think this case is pretty compelling for approval. So I'm inclined to support it. Thank you.
Well, so I'll make a motion, but I'll ask Commissioner Byrd whether he would like to, I'll make a motion to say yes to approving this. I'm wondering if Commissioner Byrd wants to put forward an amendment to keep the, to adjust the reduction in the award by the $8,000 upcharge.
Chairman Fishman, if I may.
Yeah.
And this is for an answer for Commissioner Maestas. It is my understanding when the request came in for redesign, it was an internal decision in Windstream with their engineering department after further review of the actual project. They looked at the plans of the third party and basically came to a concession of themselves of saying that we can redesign this in a much cheaper way, in a more efficient way. And so they went for that point. And it was in hindsight that I guess they figured out. So I guess in a lot of ways, yes, it is an improvement. It's maybe, in hindsight, they could have not trusted the third party and went internally. That is probably something that should be addressed moving forward in the years come, that they can look at that, these proposals and scrutinize it a little bit closer. But other than that, I think this is a positive decision on their part, and I tends to agree with it. And engineering wise, I think it'll benefit a lot more other than just the reduction in the RS U.S. funds. So that's the point I just want to make.
Thank you, Eugene.
Eugene, I couldn't hear the last thing you said where your voice dropped. You think it's just at the end of your sentence? What was the ending?
My point is that I think it was a positive addition and subtraction, I guess you can say, regardless, because it will reach out for more customers and with better quality. And then you're looking at the reduction of the RSUS funds as well on that. So that's the point I was trying to make.
I see. Thank
you, Eugene. So my motion was basically to approve the order part B, which said go ahead and approve JAL's revised proposal. So that was my motion. Do we have a second?
What's their revised proposal?
I'll second.
You mean the revision that we're considering now?
From their original project.
Okay, fine.
Commissioner Fishman, just can I get Mr. Chairman, can I get a clarification? I think I understood there's the order to grant, which would grant with this. It's a UNIS project. The UNIS project has the increased cost of $8,000. And what I'm understanding is that Commissioner Byrd is suggesting that we even though they haven't asked to net out that 8,000, or in other words, they have not asked to increase the amount of the award for that project. Commissioner Byrd was interested in possibly doing that.
Yeah. So
with this, okay.
I'm moving and then giving Commissioner Byrd an opportunity to propose an amendment if if he so chooses.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I got it.
Okay. So we have a motion and we have a second from Commissioner Hall, or Commissioner Byrd. So Commissioner Byrd, do you want to propose an amendment or not?
I would, and I'll further explain that they spent the money for a consultant that they ended up not using their product. And admirably, they admit that the Eunice project is going to cost $8,000 more, and they're willing to eat that as well. But I just feel like they're saving money overall, $100,000, and they're providing a better service. And we want to encourage that, not discourage it. And so I will ask for an amendment that we also approve the approval of the extra funding for the Eunice project when they ask for their 75% reimbursement.
So do we have a second?
Yes,
I'll
I'll
second that.
I thought he was, okay.
We've got a generous commission going here today. Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Hall. And any further discussion? Mike, would you please take the roll?
Commissioner Maestas,
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd,
He lip synced aye. We didn't hear you,
Okay.
Commissioner Byrd.
Hit mute before it goes through, I guess. Aye.
Okay.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Fishman,
No, explain my vote. And go ahead, Mike.
the motion passes, order passes 4-0. I mean, 4-1.
What?
Sorry. Having trouble counting today.
Yeah. I know it would shock everyone. I figured they wouldn't have decided to eat the 8,000 unless they'd worked out the numbers and it was a reward for them anyway. So that was my thought. But anyway, I think the commission's instinct here is certainly a positive one. So no problems with that vote.
So Mike had his teeth pulled and he can no longer count to 5.
I guess we're stressing him too much. I don't know what it is. Communications with Chief of Staff. Do we have anyone?
Now, wait a minute.
Oh, do we have another one here? Oh, sorry. We do. Item 10. I didn't want to talk about that, obviously. Discussion and potential action regarding necessity and scheduling of hearings and open meetings currently set for June 9th, 2021. 21 Triple Lot 95, June 10th, 2021, June 16th, 2021, and June 16th, 2021, 21 Triple Lot 31-UT. June 18th, 21, and June 23rd, 21, 21 Quadruple Lot 1, TREN. So with that, Judith, please take it. While I
Yes.
try the phone.
Commissioner Fishman and members of the commission, I believe we had this conversation, I think last meeting, and I think it's back on just to confirm dates. And Russell and Mike will have to help me with the dates, but I do know that we have a public hearing scheduled on gas companies purchase gas adjustment clause case for next Wednesday at 9:30. And I do know that we have a public hearing scheduled the following Wednesday at 9:30 in PNM's Facebook case. That is on June 16th. And I know we have scheduled on June 23rd at 9:30, a public hearing scheduled on the PNM Arroyo Solar switchyard case. All of those have been noticed. In addition, Russell has tentatively scheduled EPE rate case discussion, presentation of the RD in separate sessions, and I think he should take over now. And Russell, can you explain what's going on with that?
Yes. So as the commission discussed, I think it was last week, the commission has decided that you would like to have special open meetings just for discussion of the EP rate case. We had estimated it may take 3 weeks of discussion of the RD, which is a 300-page RD. But the commission only sort of tentatively set 2 special open meetings, one for next week. That's Thursday, June 10th at 1 p.m. And for the second week, there'll be Friday, June 18th at 9 a.m. And then there's another week there afterward where we just have the Wednesday, June 23rd open meeting that's regularly scheduled. And we haven't talked about if we'll need another one, which I don't think we need to talk about that yet. Those are the dates that we could use before the final statutory deadline of, I think June 28th is the statutory deadline. That's the final. We can't extend that. So Thursday, June 10th and Friday, June 18th are when we have special open meetings scheduled just to discuss the EP rate case. Judy, we want to go back to Judy on the scheduling, because we had taken those off of the regular open meetings due to the fact that we have these big hearings on those open meeting dates. And Judy, I'll send it back to you then.
Okay, so we wanted to just reiterate that next week sounds like a busy week because we have moved the regular open meeting to Tuesday, June 8th at 9:30. Then on Wednesday, June 9th at 9:30, there will be the gas company public hearing, as I stated before. And then on Thursday, June 10th, there'll be what time is the meeting, Russell, for EPE?
Thursday, that is
June 10th.
June 10th is at 1 o'clock.
Okay. So, and while the following week, there will be an open meeting, there will be a public hearing on June 16th, and then an open meeting, I believe, on June 17th.
No, actually, Judy, it's June 18th, Friday, June 18th at 9 a.m.
Oh, okay.
I think there's an interconnection workshop on the Thursday.
Okay. And then the following week, there'll be a public hearing on June 23rd. And have we decided which day to move the open meeting to? Is it going to be June 22nd or June 24th? I don't recall.
If you're asking me, Judy, like I said, for EPE, we haven't done anything special for the EP case.
Okay. This is Isaac. That was what we said at the last meeting, but we could certainly change it.
Yeah, the problem with June 22nd is there is already a workshop scheduled in the IRP rulemaking. So probably June 24th would be better.
June 24th has a workshop for the community solar rulemaking, and that starts at 9. So I think the 24th would be harder to accommodate than the 22nd. Because the IRP rulemaking is not until 2 on the 22nd.
Okay.
Yes, just to interject, the community solar rulemaking on the 24th workshop, it may be the only workshop we have. It might be. It's a very important one. It's probably gonna be all day. It's a big deal.
Or we could move it to the Friday of that week too, since we're there's nothing on June 25th, right?
Not that I'm aware of. That
right.
Commissioners, thoughts?
You know,
Personally,
I
I'm fine.
apologize. What's our question? What's the question we're supposed to answer? I am not quite sure anymore.
Approval of all of these changes of dates is the first question. And the second question is that week of June 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24, and 25 is another very busy week. We have a workshop in the IRP rule on Tuesday, the 22nd. We have a public hearing on the PNM Arroyo Solar Switchyard on the 24th. We have a workshop on the community solar rulemaking on the 25th. So if you want to have the open meeting on a quote unquote free day, it would either have to be on Monday, the 21st or Friday, the 25th.
What did you say was on the 23rd that week, Judy?
That's the PNM Arroyo Solar public hearing that has already been noticed.
Okay.
So we need
I
to
would
schedule
suggest Monday. I would suggest Monday. Unless, you know, it seems to me General Counsel has a better concept of what each weekly agenda might look like. Are you suggesting we not have an open meeting that week?
Well, no, not necessarily. That's a good point, Commissioner Hall. The Arroyo Solar matter may not take a hearing may not take more than a couple of hours. So we could have an open meeting on the same day, June 23rd. And that also is a possibility. Some of the, like I know, I don't know, but and Mike could speak to this better, but we have a sense that the gas company hearing next week on the 9th would be more than just 2 hours. And we also have a sense that the PNM Facebook on June 16th may take more than 2 hours. But the Arroyo Solar is a case that the commission has a lot of knowledge about already, and that may not take more than 2 hours.
Okay, and what day does that fall on?
That's the June 23rd.
Day. What day is that? I gotta go back.
Wednesday. So we could keep the open meeting on Wednesday, June 23rd. And then we would just have a workshop on the IRP on June 22nd. We'd have the Arroyo Solar hearing and the regular open meeting on Wednesday, June 23rd. And then we would have the community solar workshop on June 24th.
I think that's doable, and I'll say why. Both of those workshops are going to be the beginning workshops for each of those rulemakings. So they are not going to get into the nitty gritty of the work. And I think, you know, if we have to have all this piled into 1 week, I think those would be perfect workshops to have on those days, because I don't think they will be as trying probably as future workshops will be, is my guess. And I'd love to hear what other commissioners say, but I think we could probably do this. I don't think it's a crisis.
Commissioner Byrd, were you waving your hand there?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So question, how is the agendas shaping up for the next month in general? Today's was pretty short, really. We're basically done in an hour and a half. Does it look like this is kind of our caseload for the next month anyway? Or do we have a couple of big projects big cases coming up that will take more discussion time? So that, just throwing that back to OGC for a second.
Well, I think Isaac might be able to at least talk about next week. Isaac, how many items do we have on June 8th?
Next week, we do not have a terribly crowded agenda yet. We do have a situation where we essentially have two separate open meetings. We have the special meeting on Wednesday just for the hearing. Then we have a meeting on Tuesday, which would be our regular open meeting, and a meeting on Thursday for just the EPE matter. The meeting on Tuesday doesn't have much on it right now. If scheduling would permit for Russell and Carolyn, I think it would be an option to either move the Tuesday meeting and consolidate it with the Thursday meeting, or move the Thursday meeting and consolidate it with the Tuesday meeting. So that way we only have to have 2 meetings next week instead of 3. I think time-wise, that would be an option.
So I have a question. What is the Tuesday and the Thursday meeting again, please?
The Tuesday meeting tentatively was the regular open meeting. The Wednesday was the gas company public hearing, which we anticipate will take several hours, if not on to the afternoon. And the Thursday was the presentation of at least one half of the EPE recommended decision. But I think, and Isaac, correct me if I'm wrong, what Isaac is proposing, and I think it's reasonable, is that you consolidate the regular open meeting with the EPE one half of the RD and do that on either Tuesday or Thursday.
And this is Russell. I can tell you that with that, we could consolidate that in terms of scheduling. If you move it, if you leave EPE on Thursday at 1 and then consolidate the rest of the schedule into that day, that's fine. Or if you consolidate the EP rate case onto Tuesday schedule, if it's a light schedule in the morning and just the EP falls after that, that could be fine. Also, I mean, at this point, we're planning. I think the best way to proceed in the EP rate case is just to discuss. Carolyn can just present the RD with regard to the controversial issues, the issues that are subject of exceptions, and anything else that, instead of the entire RD, that can save time as well if the commission wants to do that. In that case, either way, the scheduling works for us to move it to Tuesday instead of Thursday if that works for the commission.
Judy?
Yes, Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
I shared with everybody that I have classes, ethics classes, June the 10th, starting at 8:30 a.m. And then I also have a committee meeting, June the 24th at 1:30 p.m.
I think these classes were the reason we designed the week the way we did. Isn't that correct, Commissioner Vicente Aguilar?
Yes. So
yeah.
Right now there is talk to move the open meeting to Thursday. So what I'm letting everybody know is that, I have my class and I brought it up before, and if
So it sounds like Tuesday might be a better option to move the EPE thing from Thursday to Tuesday and just have the regular open meeting starting at, say, 9:30 on Tuesday and not have a meeting at all on Thursday. Would that work for everybody?
Which Tuesday is this now? This is the next week?
That's Tuesday, June 8th.
Yes, and the reason we were having the open meeting at 1 is because there is the last.
Because of the ethics training in the morning.
Well, but let's see, I think there's something else happening that day. There's the Western Conference, the Western Regional Conference. No, wait, that's not the event. Yes, that is the event. It's all day on my calendar. Well, some of that will have to be missed. I'm not sure that's correct. I believe it was I got that in the wrong place. This is what the problem was. There is never mind. This calendar has got mistakes on it. I know this isn't right. There was a conflict in the morning with respect to a conference that's put on by New Mexico State University. So that was why we couldn't have the open meeting on the morning on Tuesday, but we could have it in the afternoon.
I am fine with that.
I don't know if we'll have enough time if we're consolidating two things into it or not. Is that still what the plan is?
If it's a light agenda, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing is the open meeting next week will be scheduled at 1 on June 8th, which is a Tuesday. It will be consolidated with the EPE presentation of half of the RD after the regular open meeting. And then on Wednesday, June 9th, will just be at 9:30 gas company's public hearing on its PGAC application.
Judy, I'm going to try to confirm right now if I can manage this to see if this thing I'm talking about is morning or afternoon. I'll just go to their website.
And while Commissioner Hall's doing that, on the 24th, I have an executive closed session scheduled with SPP. They've asked for 3 hours, but you know how those things can go. So anyway, the 24th may or may not be good for me on the afternoon. Let me see. I think it's an afternoon. Yeah, it starts at noon.
Well, and just to add for all the commissioners, I think the 24th is really off the table for any consideration of open meeting, just because that's going to be probably an all-day community solar workshop, which is a very important workshop that I'm sure that at least Commissioners Maestas and Commissioner Hall, who are members of the team, the Community Solar Action Team, will be attending.
Okay, Judy, that yeah, the conference that day goes from 10 until 2:15. This is virtual. So, however, there's a final session at 1 to 2:15, which could be skipped. So, best case scenario, I guess, would be to have it from 10 to 2:15, but that doesn't permit for what we need. But certainly there are panels from 10 to 11 and 11:15 to 12 that would be desirable to attend. So if we could have the open meeting in the afternoon, that would be better if we could do that.
Commissioner Hall, just to confirm, you're talking about June 8th right now?
Correct. Tuesday, June 8th. Yeah. I assume I'm not the only one. I take it I'm not the only one attending this conference. Is anybody else going to this? This is the Western Conference of Public Service Commissioners, the annual conference. Anybody else going to that? It's put on by New Mexico State. Never mind.
Got many conferences to choose from. So.
Well, it's in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
So easy to get to.
You sure not talking about the September?
No, this is June 7th and June 8th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Russell, will that work for you for EPE? I know that's a little bit less time because you were thinking of a whole afternoon for that first EPE
so
presentation.
Tuesday, the 8th. So we'd be starting the open meeting at 1, but if we have a very light agenda, that's fine. We may end up going all the way to 5 or 10 bit beyond, because we'd like to cover as much of the RD as possible. And like I said, we can, I think what I'll propose to Carolyn, and that she's already, if this is okay with the commission, she's already said she'd be willing to present it this way, is just to present the controversial issues and any other issues, the issues that are in the exceptions and any other major issues that she feels should be covered without going into all 300 pages of the RD. Then we'll still need at least 2 weeks for the presentation, and possibly a third week if we have to do recalculations based on any deviation from the RD. But as long as the agenda on next Tuesday is light, then we can at least start into the EPE presentation of the RD, hopefully at like 2 or 2:30, and then do a few hours of that. We should be fine as long as the agenda remains light. It's going to be light from my perspective, so June 8th is fine for that for me.
Yeah, we only have one regular action, a presentation of an RD, and then a discussion about an interlocutory appeal. But I don't foresee either of those, taking an incredibly long time.
So commissioners?
Well, I look forward, Mr. Chairman, I look forward to hearing Carolyn's presentation, and from what Isaac says, it sounds like those 2 items shouldn't take long, hopefully.
I don't think so. So just to summarize, and again, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but June 8th at 1 p.m. an open meeting, followed by at least one half of the EPE rate case RD. Wednesday, June 9th at 9:30, gas company public hearing. Nothing on Thursday, June 10th. Then the following week, on June 16th at 9:30 on Wednesday, we have a public hearing on the PNM Facebook matter. And then on June 18th, which is a Friday, we have the open meeting. And then the following week, we have the regular open meeting on June 23rd, Wednesday, along with the public hearing of PNM and Arroyo Solar regarding the switchyard.
Okay, commissioners, are we all copacetic here?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Vicente-Aguilar.
Earlier, Commissioner Byrd asked a question to Michael Smith, the General Counsel's office. Is it needed that we need to have an open meeting every week? How much of a workload or how many cases do we need to concentrate on for the open meeting? Would it be possible to cancel the open meeting on Friday, June the 18th? Because we are working very hard. The commissioners are attending conferences, taking ethics classes. I'm meeting with my planning committee on broadband. So a lot is going on. So that's my question.
Commissioner Vicente-Aguilar, personally, again, I'm pretty flexible about this stuff, as you've probably noticed. I'm fine if we skip the meeting on June 18th, if the schedule for it is not long. And that, for me, that works perfectly well.
Just to remind, the June 18th meeting was a Friday special meeting just for the EP rate case. So if we can fit it in somewhere on an open meeting schedule during that week that provides, 3 or 4 hours, then for the EP rate case, or at least 3, that's going to be a very important week for the EP rate case. It'll be the week when any remaining presentation of the RD will be finished. Then I will be presenting exceptions, and we'll be considering. The commission will be considering the outcome with regard to the exceptions and any other issues that the commission wishes to raise on its own with regard to the RD. And then if we need there could be a final order issued on that day,
So
or.
is the point here that we might need an open meeting in order to make some EPE rulings? Is that where you're headed?
Yeah, that's going to be a very big day for that meeting. Will be a very big meeting for the EP rate case. It could be the final day. Again, we have the following week if we need it. But just to let you know, if it's going to be consolidated with the rest of the open meeting, then the rest of the open meeting schedule will need to be very light that week.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I think what was just suggested is that the regular open meeting agenda be canceled for that week, and the EPE rate case be talked about on the Wednesday regular open meeting time schedule.
Right.
Okay, that's perfect.
We're not getting rid of EPE. We're getting rid of the regular agenda for that week.
Okay.
And what day will that fall on?
Sorry to interject. That Wednesday is when the PNM Facebook hearing is scheduled. So there's sounds like some concern that we won't have time to do both the hearing and the regular open meeting. Certainly we wouldn't have enough time to do the hearing, the regular open meeting, plus 4 hours for EPE. So I don't know that that's going to be feasible to do everything on the 16th.
Well, on the Friday open meeting that we're getting rid of is called a special open meeting. What? And I'm sorry, there must be something missing in my calendar.
May I make a
Where was our
suggestion here?
regular open meeting that week?
May I make a suggestion? I'm just getting more and more confused the more we talk.
Yeah, I am too.
So, Judy, I think the right way to go about this is for you to submit a proposed calendar. You've heard the input, do the best you can with it. The commissioners will get back to you on whether that calendar works for us. I have to ask a little bit of forbearance from the commissioners with meetings. We've got important issues that are up that we need to take care of. And sometimes if it's an outside meeting that's not super critical, let's be sure we get our regular business done and we're not scheduling around kind of optional outside meetings. Our regular business comes first. Certainly things, well, I'll just leave it at that.
Well,
when it comes to
point.
education, let me finish one more thought. When it comes to the education stuff, clearly that, can't be rescheduled.
Yeah.
So just a thought.
Right. And Mr. Chair, I think that's a very good point. But what I was signing up for, I believe will give me credits. So that was my only concern about that. And I would be skipping a part of it that I don't consider credit worthy. So
well, you might want to double check on the credits. So
I will. I absolutely will. They're important. But I also have to get legal credits as well as
okay.
Our commission credits. However, one other thing I would like to mention, I'm finding while I'm perfectly willing to move open meetings from Wednesday when we have to, I'm finding it sure does help me keep things straight if they are on Wednesday. At least I know when that is. But I agree. I think it's better for Judy to just put all this together. But I think it's incumbent on the commissioners to send her the conflict times they have, or just the other activity times like this conference I'm talking about. And, and Commissioner Vicente Aguilar's classes and so forth. We should send Judy the information.
Okay, so we'll leave the rest of June for further discussion, and I'll prepare a calendar for the 3rd and 4th week of June. But at least for next week, it appears that nobody had an objection regarding Tuesday, June 8th for the regular open meeting and EPE rate case at 1 o'clock, and Wednesday, June 9th at 9:30 for the gas company public hearing. Is that correct?
Well, and Judy, I would just clarify, if the EP rate case is part of the regular agenda, it doesn't have to be at 1. It can just start whenever the rest of the the issues, you know, it'll just be one of the last things on the agenda. It won't be starting at 1, it'll just be on the agenda.
Right, right, exactly.
But the agenda starts at 1.
Right,
Correct?
Correct.
right. So
Okay, sorry about that.
is that acceptable for next week? And then we'll deal with the other weeks after I get everybody's conflicts and I can make a schedule.
It's fine with me.
Okay,
Other commissioners?
are we good?
I guess so.
All right, if we're good there, we'll go to communications with Chief of Staff.
Thank you. This is Brad Borman. I'm acting Chief of Staff in Wayne's absence. The good news I will give you right up front, and that's that Wayne is going to be back tomorrow. And so this is the last time I'll have to do that. I know the only information I wanted to impart to you guys is I wanted to give you another update on the Bochum building. You know, as you know, we had another walkthrough this past week on the 28th. And I can tell you that progress is still being made. It is, I guess I'd say, almost complete. It's getting really darn close. There are a lot of kind of pretty minor things to do for most of the building. I think the biggest thing that remains to be done is there are areas that need to be carpeted. And so the carpet has been ordered, and as I understand it, is scheduled to arrive next week, with the installation the week of June 21st. So I guess the carpet is coming in a week and a half. The carpet will be installed the week of June 21st. And it'll take several days. It's not like a one-day process. The second floor in particular is in need of the new carpet. Other parts of the building, there are some sporadic rooms here and there that are going to get new carpeting, but the hallways and such are generally not going to get that. Once the carpet is installed, the furniture can be moved in. And so that looks like that will be the end of June when that occurs. And then Mr. Montoya's team wants to do a buffing of the non-carpeted floors, kind of a finishing and buffing of those floors afterward. I think some of that can be done contemporaneously with us moving in, depending on who exactly is going to be moving in. But it looks like we'd be able to start moving in probably in early July right now. I know that Wayne has asked for a follow-up visit of the building on Monday, so I'm planning to attend at 11 o'clock with him to see where they're at. I know that the Bochum building owners or managers, we gave them a list of items to accomplish, and they kind of want to walk through that list with us to make sure that it's checked off. And so we'll be doing that. But I mean, it's one of those projects that keeps getting a lot closer together. I can tell you that, you know, I think I first walked in that building in February when we were first looking at going into the building, and, you know, and then my first walk through upon our entering an agreement with them was on May 7th. And it didn't look on May 7th like much had been accomplished at all. But since that time, in the 4 weeks, basically since then, it really quite a bit has actually taken place. And there's a lot of work that's been done, and there's been a significant transformation of the building. And so I'm optimistic that we're going to be moving in there in July, and that it's going to work out for us for a period of time at least. So. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Brad.
Mr. Borman.
Sure.
Okay, we're on to communications with General Counsel.
I think we actually covered most of what we needed to talk about during the calendaring. So unless anybody else has anything else, I don't have anything else to add.
Don't say that word calendaring. It gives me a headache. Communications with commissioners. I think we're all ready to adjourn. Thanks, everybody, and hopefully we'll get this scheduling worked out in the next day or so. Judy, thanks for your help on that. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.